So, Payday 2 just finished its recent 10-day event, the Search for Kento event, in which we search for Jiro's son, one of the heisters in the game. This was the story arc presented to us when Jiro was announced, I think 2 years ago, so a lot of people were happy to see this story arc finally get a resolution. Sort of. As some of you may know, I play Payday 2 on Linux, or SteamOS as Overkill likes to insist on calling it, and during this event, if you thought I'd be happy to report no crashes to the Linux port, well, no, it was dreadful. Yes, we're talking about Overkill again. Hold on to your seatbelts. It pains me to do this, by the way. Over the past 10 days, I've been thinking about how to start and finish this very episode of DEV, from mindless ranting to a retrospective quickfire. In the end, I just thought the best thing to do would be just detailing all the problems I had day by day, then giving my experiences of them to you guys. Oh, and there's some somewhat related stuff coming up after this, section because of stuff that came out throughout the week, and I think you'll know exactly what it is if you've paid any attention to the news. Let's go through the Search for Kento event day by day from a Linux gamer's perspective, shall we? Day 1 introduced us to Overkill's idea on how to stop people complaining about frequent updates in a 10-day event by making rather adorable papercraft models of the gang and providing the PDFs for you to download every other day. So day 1 was papercraft, day 2 was content, day 3 was papercraft again, and so on and so forth until the 10th day, which would be content. I am actually okay with this because, well, it's a pretty neat idea. You heard me. They look cute as hell though. Day 2 was the first content update, which brought Heat Street back, or rather, again, due to the continuity Overkill is going with. The heist returns from Payday the Heist, the first game. On the Windows version, you got Heat Street. On the Linux version, you didn't get Heat Street. Day 2 brought Linux users broken matchmaking because, of course it did, a suspiciously small download culminating in the fact that didn't add Heat Street to the game. I couldn't even select it and get a broken loading screen. I mean, I'd moan at a broken loading screen, so at least it's a clean-cut mess. In fairness to Overkill, Windows users weren't very happy either, which is not exactly a great caveat when you have both platforms hating you a little bit. Heat Street had a ton of bugs and performance problems, and it still does, and in some cases it crashed on Windows. For once, nobody was really happy in this update. Day 3 added more papercraft stuff and a bug fix which fixed the SteamOS version. Yes, that was the actual description they gave for screwing up, and hilarious in hindsight too. It is all encompassing as it sounds, thankfully, as the Day 2 bugs, glitches and technical screw-ups were resolved in both the Windows and the Linux versions, so Heat Street worked for everyone. Hooray! Day 4 was the second content update. This day brought the game mode Crime Spree, and by that point, Overkill had gotten savvy to my constant complaint of them breaking the Linux version of the game. They announced the new way they'll do QA for both Windows and Linux builds, in which that Linux builds are done separately from the Windows version. I mean, they should have been doing that anyway, but well done you, the good change that should have happened absolutely ages ago. The only caveat to this is, according to them, and because penguins haven't suffered enough apparently, is that updates are a day late for Linux users, because
I'm actually on your side.
Fuck you.
He's a real nuisance.
regardless of what you think, the day did bring in an update to Linux in which they broke the game again. Take a wild guess at how they broke it. Matchmaking. It was matchmaking. The reason became obvious, as Crime Spree was completely broken on SteamOS and Linux. As far as I got to testing my matchmaking keys search key fix, anyone who joined Linux Crime Spree lobby had all manner of errors and couldn't select gauge boosts, and if you were a Linux host full of Windows players, you couldn't select gauge boosts either, as, well, the Windows clients would crash. I didn't really particularly pay much attention to it because, well, they didn't add controller support, which, yes, I know I'm going down the rabbit hole of why in the hell do you play this game, but it's still a concern, is all I'm saying. Oh, Overkill. Day 5 added a papercraft jacket and the crazies of the gang. Need I say any more? Oh, wait, yeah, a bug fixes update for both Windows and Linux. This fixes matchmaking again, and likely fixed Crime Spree issues I didn't check because no controller support. The update landed and everyone got a performance boost on Heat Street too, so that was nice. Day 6 added a new armor-piercing pistol, new gun mods with a zoom function, an incendiary grenade, and masks based on a turtle, a lion, a koala, and a chinchilla of all things. No, me neither. Also, matchmaking broke for the 3rd time in the 10-day event. I fixed the matchmaking in less than 2 minutes, by the way. 2 minutes that Overkill couldn't take to update the search key for the Linux port. Again. 3 times. So, what was that about creating separate builds a day late? Was that a naughty lie just to shut me up a little bit? Or did you fix the issues in the Linux build without telling us? Your guess is as good as mine, viewers. Day 7 added more papercraft stuff. Hooray! No bug fixes to matchmaking, so my hotfix was still being used. No anything. No performance improvements. Lovely. Day 8 added nothing to the regular base game. Instead, Overkill had opened up an open beta, and the main new thing in that beta was AI being customizable, so you can choose their weapons, insanely overpowered boots judging from what I've seen, and even masks. As I said, the new content is behind a beta, which was of course broken, because of course it was. Matchmaking still wasn't working, so I had to update that again, and a pencil DLC thing was released from the John Wick film franchise, and I couldn't even use it because, again, tie me down and fly me on a barge pole, the Linux port wasn't updated to support it. A new community safe, again not supported on the Linux port on day 1, full of weapon skins was added, and Overkill, in true Overkill fashion, misspelt Gruberkurs to Bruberkurs, which was a meme for a little bit, and then died down incredibly quickly. Day 9 was much the same as Day 8, no update fixes and more papercraft. And finally, Day 10 was, for the most part, pretty good. A classic, but not really, heist was added to the game, Green Bridge. For those who just want a brief synopsis of the plot, Bane blows up the titular bridge at the start of the heist to halt the traffic on the bridge. Your main goal is to open up the bunch of prisoner transports to find a guy named Kazo, who has information on Kento, the person we were looking for through this entire event. You escort him to a tower, then strap him to a weird plain balloon chair thing, and then fend off attack helicopters, SWATs, etc. until he's picked up by the pilot. After he's picked Kazo up, you leave the tower, fight off the cops trying to stop you from leaving, soar up in a SWAT van, the move is a la Hoxton Breakout, and then get to the exit, which is shown by some scuba diving kit. At this point, you think Day 10 was the only day I'd have no complaints about. Oh, you would be wrong. For the 4th time, matchmaking broke. Again. I've said that a lot, but I'm going to continue to say it. There was no water droplets on the screen for Green Bridge for whatever reason. The AI open beta is, as of writing this, still inaccessible to Linux users, and Matt Roscoe's hitbox in the safe house has changed for some reason, making it harder to hit him, so you have to hit him in a very specific spot near his neck. So, all in all, the port was treated unprofessionally. Again, matchmaking broke 4 different times, 3 of those times I had to fix it, again, and Overkill proved once again they don't do QA days in advance to accommodate for these events, regardless of your platform. Kind of gives you a bit of an insight onto their development process, doesn't it? The sad part is, I do actually like the content within the 10 days. It's just a shame that, once again, like the Hoxton housewarming party, it was basically inaccessible to me for the majority of the time, because Heat Street wasn't added to the game, and, well, I couldn't natively do matchmaking because Overkill kept breaking it. And now for something completely different. This is a thing. So Starbreeze decided that the best thing they can do to help support the Xbox One and PS4 versions is to release a version for the Nintendo Switch. Oh boy, I am expecting a crap storm. Oh boy. Now, of course, this could be a good thing, depending. I mean, Payday 2 in a portable mode is obviously something that people do obviously want, but, let me remind you, the Xbox One and PS4 versions are still on the Point Break heists, which were released at the end of 2015. In comparison, the PC version, Windows and Linux, they are on the latest version, so the Search for Kento event, as of recording this anyway, so take with that what you will. The worst part is, I think Overkill are basically the only company / Starbreeze, they're the only company I know that do this. Like, all the other companies I know, like Hi-Rez and Blizzard, all their console ports of their PC games are either an update behind, or they are just a day later, or depends. Okay, depends on the publisher, depends on how big of their ties there are, and depends on QA. Lots of variables, okay? But the general gist is that Overkill are the only ones I know of that do this, so I don't expect it to be any different to the Switch. If they were nice, and I hope they're doing this, all of the content, let's be generous, the Search for Kento event, okay? That is the minimum I would have, okay? So Greenbridge is the minimum. Any less than that, and you've already just shown your intentions at that point. I mean, you still, like I said, you still have yet to update the Xbox One and PS4 versions, so, yeah. Okay, I swear this is the last thing I want to talk about because this is probably the longest episode of DV I've ever had to do, but, how do I put this nicely to Nintendo? The way you have treated the NES Classic Edition is downright unprofessional. Okay, I'm gonna agree with Jim Sterling on this. He called Nintendo a toy maker, among other things, and he's kinda right. You're doing all the things that a toy maker would do. Limit the stock, you did that with the Amiibo, so you're doing that with the NES Classic, and now you're doing the one last card in your deck, and that would be discontinuing it after a very short amount of time. So, yeah. The desirability factor of the NES Classic, because that's kind of who it's aimed at retro gamers, that's just gone through the roof. I'm not very happy with Nintendo at the moment. I mean, I'm not particularly happy with their online service on the Switch, because I'm not buying one until that's resolved and they actually give me a reason to pay for their online. I don't get you, Nintendo, sometimes. I mean, you're Nintendo. You are the greatest klutz in the video game industry. And with that, I thank you very much for listening. I am so goddamn tired. Please give me a sandwich.